The bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast to get all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn. I'm on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is Paul Walker, the prognosticator of Pinotage and our wine expert. And I say,
you're pretty off on that one. I don't know anything about Pinotage.
You love Pinotage. Didn't somebody give it to you as like a gift once? Like you had a nice box.
Yeah, somebody tried to poison me once with a domestic Pinotage.
With a domestic Pinotage.
Yeah. I'm sure there's great Pinotage. I just haven't had it. I'm not an expert, and there's the first reason in telling you that, Jeff, that I've never had a Pinotage that I've actually enjoyed, and I'm sure there are many out there. So there you go. Throwing your expert terminology out the window.
We're going to be talking about some of the wines coming into auction that are
some of the wines, yes,
domestic producers.
Far too many to list if we go through them individually. So.
Well, yeah. Let me just start off by saying there's like a ton of stuff coming to auction this week. So we'll
always say coming into auction, but it's actually live in the auction now.
Has come into auction this week.
Yes, it is live now. They're all available for bidding.
Here's what I'm trying to say. If you were looking at this at our site at 6:59 p.m. on Sunday,
that's too late.
This is all this stuff would not have been there, right?
Oh, I thought you meant this week. No, last week. No, everything to confuse people further. Yes, that was last week. No, everything that we list now is live in the current week auction, which ends on March 10th.
Yes,
that's 7 p.m. Pacific. So just want to specify the date, the time, all that stuff. All these wines are currently available for bid.
They're currently available for bid. I want to talk a little bit about. I'm going to steal your thunder here because I know you always love to talk about these wines. Number 2 in Wine Spectator's Top 100 in 1999. There's that.
Wait, let me see if I can guess it.
Yeah,
1999.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 wine. Was it Phelps Insignia?
Nope.
I thought I was going to say like 97 Phelps Insignia, but no. What was it?
96 Opus 1.
I was close.
You were close. What about number 5 in Wine Spectator's Top 100 in 2000?
In 2000. What vintage was it? Give me a hint as to what the vintage was.
1997.
Was that Phelps Insignia?
That was the Phelps Insignia.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, you got it. Ding, 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 ding. All
right. Well, they're both in auction this week.
They're both in auction this week. The Opus 1 at $330. That actually didn't strike me as that crazy for Opus 1.
Yeah, I'm going to counter you and say, go for the 79. That is the first vintage, and it's extremely rare. It's very, very hard to find. So, and it's, it's not cheap, but
how much is it?
$820. And I think that's actually I think it's actually pushed $1,000 in the past. So.
That's not too bad. The 97 Phelps Insignia was $380. And we've got 4 of the 96 Opus 1s, 5 of the 97 Insignias. This
91 Opus 2, which is one of my favorites. That's available this week also. It's really, really good.
Did you see this 2000 Monolena Estate Cab 3-liter for $320?
I did. Yeah, I did.
That was not bad, actually.
No, I mean, 2000 was a bit controversial. Some of the Valley Floor wines were lighter than people, maybe expect or demand. But there are some great, great wines. And in big format like that, I'm sure, Montelena makes a great estate Cabernet every year. So I'm sure that's delicious. And you're right. It's less than $100 a bottle, quite a bit less, actually. And their estate cab is very expensive now.
Yeah,
so
estate cab gets up there.
And all the big formats always cost, multiples more than they should.
I think that would be a cool party bottle.
That's a great one. There's a bunch of great big formats this week.
96 Stags Leap Wine Cellars SLV cab for $110. I thought that wasn't too bad for the SLV.
96. Yeah, that's got a nice bit of time on it.
Yep.
More that vintage got a little discounted in between 95 and 97. So yeah, that's a good deal.
And then only because it's topical, it's top of mind for me. 81 auction Napa Valley lot 391 Diamond Creek 3 Vineyard blend.
Yeah. Very cool. I saw that. There's an unbelievable amount of Diamond Creek in, but the blend bottle, that really caught my eye.
I was like, ooh, I kind of want that. I kind of like that one looks, I'll bet you it's super delicious too.
Yeah, so because there's a mag of 84 too, which caught my eye for 480, which for Old Diamond Creek, especially the three vineyard blend and in large format, I really didn't think was expensive. I mean, obviously some of the 70s vintages are crazy expensive, and the Lake's always crazy expensive, but there's some deals in there, and that was one of them for sure.
Well, and like what really got part of the reason I thought this was so interesting is as because you were there with me, we were at Premier Napa Valley recently. It was on the couple weeks ago.
Just a little over a week ago.
And they had a Diamond Mountain blend that was from all of the from 6 vineyards on Diamond Mountain, including Diamond Creek. And oh my gosh, was that good? It was so good. So I saw this 3 vineyard blend, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'll bet you that is just killer. And then
and they age incredibly well. They also do. It seems like Diamond Creek does really well in tricky vintages, tougher vintages that are not. I mean, obviously from the banner vintages, the wines are great, but from some of those early '80s vintages, they're quite good, and they last for many years. So hey, actually, speaking of Premier Napa Valley, there's a nice little selection of Premier wines from all over the place. There's like all over the vintages going back to I think 2009, and then up to 16. I saw Corazon's offering from 14, which I remember tasting that wine. It's really, really good. And there's Coho, Barber, Groth, Hewitt, Honig, Odette. There's a big bottle of Reynolds. Yeah, there's a 3 liter of Reynolds, which is extremely rare. Somebody had to, whoever bought that lot at the auction had to then decide to have it bottled in 3 liters. And so that's a rare one. But yeah.
And then not speaking of Napa Valley or Premier Napa Valley, there's also the Napa Valley Reserve, some Napa Valley Reserve wines in auction. I was looking at like the 06 for 180, but if you like any of the Napa Valley Reserve stuff.
Oh, the famous Napa Valley Reserve Club. Yes.
Famous Napa Valley Reserve Club. Also was looking at this 07 Lacoya Mount Veeder Cabernet Sauvignon for 305. I thought that was cool. You mentioned, and I mean, we can't not talk about the ridiculous amount of Diamond Creek that is in auction this week. I mean, normally we get like a bottle or 2 or 3 of Diamond Creek that we see come into auction in a week. That maybe averages a few bottles might come into auction, right? Some weeks, no bottles of Diamond Creek come into auction. And I love Diamond Creek, but we have
it's an incredible selection.
Oh my God. 82 horizontal mags of Diamond Creek, OWC. 2012 horizontal mags. I mean, a bunch of cases of mags, stuff all the way back to like the 70s and 80s, and just like a 12 liter of 85 Gravelly Meadow. 640. I mean, there's just a ridiculous amount of Diamond Creek in auction. And I mean, I'm almost sad because I feel like I can't justify bidding on all of it, but I'll be damned if I don't want to buy like almost all of it.
Well, I don't think I've ever actually seen this much Lake Vineyard in one particular auction. It's unbelievable, the breadth of it this week, from the mid 80s, to like killer vintages in the 90s. I mean, going all the way up to, I think 19 is the most recent Lake. And there's a couple bottles of 19 and 18, but otherwise singles of pretty much everything else. But there's 5 liters, there's mags. I mean, it's a surreal collection of Diamond Creek. It's very impressive. And have you ever seen this Duke's 25th anniversary? I've never seen that before in a 3 liter from 92. So yeah, really, really collectible, rare labels. There's that painted label of the Lake 97 5 liter, which is really wild. So just all kinds of amazing.
There's a Lake Gravelly Meadow blend. I mean, it's just like all this crazy, interesting stuff in, original wood pieces, anniversary editions. And I mean, like if you're a Diamond Creek fan, this is the week to go all in. I never say never, but I can't imagine I think it'll be a while before we get this much stuff like this Diamond Creek in auction time, right? Exceedingly uncommon to have some of these. It's exceedingly uncommon to have an auction period. But then
Yeah, altogether, it's amazing. Yeah, similarly, there's a bunch of Joseph Swan wines, and again, vintages going back to the 70s. They're very sought after, the older wines. So yeah, kind of a really fun auction for that matter. Just all these different selections of, and I think a couple of these sort of where you're seeing a lot of wines from the same producer. I believe they're from the same cellar. I can't confirm that right now, but I'm pretty sure the Swans and the Diamond Creeks are both from the same cellar. But anyway, there's a bunch of Swan Pinots and Zinfandels going back, like I said, 80s and 70s even. So yeah, just a great batch of stuff this week.
There were two deals that I'll touch on before I let you take it home with California wines.
Mm-hmm.
A7 Turley Hain Vineyard Petite Syrah for
that's a rare one.
That delicious stuff goes the distance. Already has a bid on it, and then the other one that I love Staglin 06 Staglin Salis for $60. Well, it's got a bid on it, so it's up to 61. But that stuff's like over $100.
Oh yeah,
and
Staglin still gets I think discounted at auction. So great deals there.
What am I missing in California, Paul?
Well, again, we've touched on some of the classics. There are multiple examples of a lot of different things, and there's kind of an interesting selection of a French producer in Paso Robles, Clos Solène, which is very expensive at the winery, but the wines in the auction, I think everything's under $100. I think even under 75, but many great deals there. There's a really nice selection of Blanquier Mythicus, which you don't see too often. There's a super rare, kind of interesting, eclectic example in this week. It's Beau Rivage, which is actually a winery owned by William Kelly, the wine writer, and it's a partnership with a friend of mine who works for Thomas Brown, actually. And they make Chenin Blanc out of Clarksburg, and there's a couple of bottles of it. It's excellent wine, and it's $20 at auction. Not expensive. 17 and 18 are currently available. A couple of bottles of each of those. So I thought that was fun to mention. There's a bunch of Dellinger, including old Dellinger Cabernet Sauvignon, and I believe Cabernet Franc. Some older 20-year-old and around that Pinot Noirs, the Octagon as well, which is quite rare, and the Old Vine Reserve Pinot, which is also quite rare. It's like kind of a super limited edition from the winery. There's DVO, which is the collaboration between Maya della Valle and Ornellaia, California wine that was released. I think first release was, 18 or 19, but anyway, the 19 is in this week. There's some fantastic Dominus in the auction. There's some great Laurel Glen. There's some 70s Mayacamas, which everybody goes bonkers for. There's some old Ojai, which I don't think I've ever seen. Ojai Cabernet Sauvignon Syrah blend from 1986. I mean, talk about rare. That's a super, super rare one. Also old Ojai Syrah. And there's a bunch of Paradigm, which is never very expensive. Fantastic Oakville site, 13, 14, 15, 16 there. There's some Peter Michael au Paradis Magnums and Les Pavots Magnums, and a beautiful 3-liter of the 16 Les Pavots at prices that are far, far less than winery cost. Some great Ridge wines, an old Schrader Zinfandel, which I actually really liked a lot, 07, and some Schaefer, some Snowden, some Spotswood, Stony Hills, Storybrooks.
The only other one, I mean, like all is wonderful. I'm going to say something different. Like those are clearly some phenomenal producers. I would only add to that, like some interesting stuff from My Favorite Neighbor. Denner has some cool stuff in auction this week. Reese has some cool stuff in auction this week. And
yeah, there's a lot of Paso Robles. There's what is it? The wines from it's Akasha is one of the wines, and now of course I'm forgetting. Was it Law Estate? Yeah, it's Law Estate. It was another kind of like really hot mailing list wine from Paso a few years ago.
The other thing I noticed was, well, for a little while we've had a lot of cool Pride in auction. There's a lot of really cool old Pride Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Merlot, which I've had a lot of the older stuff, and it is, I don't know, the stuff is really good. Like
those wines age incredibly well, really well.
Well,
there's one other rarity I wanted to mention. Storybook Mountain. There's an old reserve Zin. I just love their wines. Hillside Zin. It's very kind of wild, brambly, super, super traditional, classic, and they last a long time. So those are always fun to see, and they're not expensive.
No. Let's jump over to Oregon really quickly because we had a bunch of stuff.
Some great Northwest stuff this week.
I just want to point out two producers that I love in Oregon, Colleen Clemens, and then Goodfellow. And we have some from both. There's some really good stuff coming to auction. Who catches your eye up in Oregon that we haven't?
So yeah, there's always just super deals. I mean, there's always, expensive stuff. Willamette Pinots can be really, really expensive and even at auction. But then at the same time, so many things I think are just underrepresented and not expensive. The Kelly Fox wines are not cheap, but they're great. There's Pinot Blanc too from Kelly Fox, which is interesting. There's some Penner Ash wines. There's some St. Innocents, which are always smoking deals. They're not expensive at all, and they're great wines. It's a bunch of White Rose all over the place, like many vintages and designations. And then Evesham Wood is another one I think that's great and not expensive. And then there's Christum, which has a real following now. You don't see them as much, and again, they're under $50. They're not steep, but great wines.
Some really cool stuff from Oregon, some awesome stuff from California. Definitely check out the action this week with WineBid's Finally Hammered. This has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding, and cheers.
Cheers.